Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jason and you're watching Jason Jensen Trains. Well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to click on that bell up in the corner to be notified when I upload new videos. Well, once again, I have teamed up with Jeff Grove, the owner of Carolina Craftsman Kits, and together we have designed a new kit that is extremely fun to build. It's a stucco structure, and in today's video I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can do stucco. The structure is made out of task board, so you can simply paint the task board and it will look like a smooth troweled stucco. Or you can spray texture it with a Krylon spray texture, or you can use a sponge. But again, it's just a fun, easy build. It's probably a 2-day build at the most, and it's very affordable. It's a $38 kit, a great kit with a lot of character for that price. Well, stay tuned. At the end of the video I will give you some tips on using the Krylon spray texture, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Alright, well, let's get to it. So here's all the walls, and the first thing I did was I put an X on the back of the walls. So go through and put X's on the back of all your walls first. Then there's a trim that eventually gets glued onto the top. Take that trim and put it across the top. Make sure, double check that you're on the top, and then draw a pencil line. So I just simply put it at the top and drew my pencil line. Then when you cut your bracing, make sure that it's below that line, because we have a roof that gets put on there that is sunk down in. So we have, let's see, we have sort of the office building, and then we have the garage. The garage, on the long pieces, I put the bracing all the way to the edge on both. And then obviously one in the center and one on the center here. Then for our side piece, we have to move it in, the bracing. And I have already made a mistake. Boy, I've done this before when I do stucco. But you want, I am so used to working on structures that have a corner trim, but there's no corner trim on this. So I'm going to have to cut that bracing off and move it back even further so that it makes a nice corner. I'll do that quick. You have to be very careful if you do this, because it can rip the paper. So we'll line that up right on the edge. Okay, I'll hold this up quick so that you can see it. So you can see now you have a nice corner. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the other side, and then I have to also then move these in a little bit further. Next, we're going to put the walls together, and as you can see, I laid them out, so all I have to do is stand them up. So this is the correct order they go in. Now I put glue on the bracing and then on the task board, and I went all the way to the edge. That way it seeps out a little bit. Let me see if I can show you that. So now it just seals that and fills in that crack, and you have a nice corner. And I'm using my grid to make sure that my walls are straight. Okay, we'll glue the back on and then move on. Okay, so our office is all glued and it is drying. It's perfectly square according to the grid on my mat. Okay, so now we have the back, the front, and the side, because this goes like this. So again, we'll put our glue all the way to the edge on the task board. Put some glue on the bracing. Line it up on our grid. And then when you press it together, a little bit of that glue seeps out and you can just smear it. It fills in that little crack. Okay, so I glued my two sections together, and there's I just didn't want there to be a line in the back. So what I did was I put glue down the center, and then I'll just take a piece of wood. Okay, that makes it really, it's hard to tell, but it makes it nice and flat. Now we'll start to get all of our decorative trim glued on. I'll show you how I'm going to start this. So there's the front, and I'm going to cut a piece that's exactly the same width or length, I guess, as the building. And we'll actually cut two of these. Now I'm lining it up on my grid and then cutting it lined up with the line that goes this way so that I know that it's perfectly straight. It's raised a little bit. I just sort of forced it down, but it didn't sit perfectly even with the top. So if you just gently push it down, it kind of cuts into those pieces there. It might not be that way on yours, but if it is, like I said, just gently push it down so that it's the same height. Do this so that you can see, and then just gently run your finger over that and smooth it out. Okay, now our two side pieces are done. Now we have to cut one that goes across the front. So we'll hold it up there and mark it. And it should be the same length for the back. Okay, so now we'll do the end piece. Okay, really press it together. You'll see the glue oozes out a little bit. Then all you have to do is run your finger along it. And you can see there's glue seeping between the pieces. All we do is smooth it out. Make sure you double check underneath it. You can see there's a little bit of glue that I scraped from underneath. Okay, now we'll get our back piece put on. Okay, our top trim is all glued on, and I wanted to show you quick on the back. I just had to notch that a little bit. Like I said, on yours, if you buy this and you're putting it together at home, you might not have to do that. But if you do, just mark it and just trim a little bit out so that everything fits really flush. Next, we're going to add our trim that goes around the middle. Now, I'm putting my trim right above, it's the bottom of the window on the door. I'll show you. Now you have to put your pieces in first so that it butts up right against them, and then simply mark it with the pencil and cut it. So that's how it will be. Now what I've done is I've cut a piece of cardboard the width that I want it at the bottom, that stripe at the bottom. So you can hold that up there, and then when you glue your piece on, you can slide it right to the top of that. And then same with the piece over here. So just go all the way around, hold that piece of cardboard up there when you're gluing your strip on, and then glue it right above it. So hopefully that makes sense. And then when you remove your piece of cardboard, it's perfect. So I've glued that inside trim in place, and then I've got this one glued in place. Now we'll add this one. Now we just want to take our piece of cardboard and make sure we're at the right height. Now as you can see, this trim here is thinner than the trim that goes around the top. I'll hold it up there so that you can see the difference. So make sure the thinner trim goes across the middle and the thicker trim goes at the top. So after I glue the piece of trim on there, what I do is I take my piece of cardboard and I run it along on both sides just to get any extra glue off. Then we can pop our door and window out. Okay, our trim is all put on. And this piece of cardboard that I cut, that I held up there as my guide, is 3/8 of an inch wide. I did want to point out that there is no trim across the back. Okay, now we're going to make our roof, and we'll set that on the corner. I don't know if you can see that well. Then we're making marks everywhere that we can. I know that bracing's in the way, but... Okay, so now we'll just take our ruler and connect all these lines. Don't know if you'll be able to see that. Now we'll just cut this out and hopefully they just fit. Now at this point you could just spray paint this off-white or spray paint it with a gray primer and paint it whatever color you want it to. And there's enough texture on here that it would actually look like a smooth troweled stucco. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a product from Krylon. And you can see it says fine texture. Okay, so I just sprayed it. Let me show it to you. Okay, we'll let this completely dry. And then we can start to paint it. I'll need to put an off-white over this because right now it's kind of a tan color. I don't know if it's showing up on camera well, but it's kind of a tan color and I want it more of a white. And then we'll do the blue trim along the bottom. As this starts to dry, if you find it's a little too rough on your edges, you can just run your finger over the edges and it just knocks off some of that little, it's almost like a little fine sand that's in the spray paint. And you can just knock that off. Okay, so I just went over it with a flat white spray paint and I stood back pretty far and just lightly misted the whole thing. Okay, so our building is pretty much dry. And if you want to, you can take really fine sandpaper, and I think this is, let's see, this is 220. And if you find some spots that are just too heavily textured, just sand over it. Okay, let's paint our roof quick. And I'm using a really dark gray called zinc. Okay, so the roof is all done. I added a little bit of black in with that zinc gray. Okay, so I've mixed a blue and I've used turquoise blue, deep midnight blue, and a little bit of baby blue. Let's see what this looks like. Add a little bit of water to it. Okay, I think this is going to work. Now I'm going to dry brush with baby blue. Okay, our blue is all done. I still have to put glass in these. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. Okay, our model is finished. I added the sign on the top and just used some strip wood, which is included in the kit, and painted it red. And you'll see I painted the back of the sign red. Added a couple gooseneck lamps, which come in the kit. Added a lamp above the door. I believe you get 3 or 4 lamps in the kit. So you could place them above the garage doors if you wanted, anywhere on here. I did some dry brushing on the roof, and then also added some pastel chalk on the roof. And you could add lots of trash up here. You could even put some tires up here, some scrap wood. If you put some little details up here, I think it would really, really add to it. Real quick, I want to talk to you about texturing the walls. Again, the kit is made up out of task board, and I don't know if you can see that. It has a texture already, and you could simply just paint this and it would look like a smooth troweled stucco. Or I will show you quick. If you don't want to use the spray texture, you could simply paint it. I'll do a little section here for you. So I'm just using a neutral gray. Any gray would work. And you can see I'm just painting it solid. And I didn't add any water, it's straight out of the bottle. Okay, now we'll dry this quick. Now we're going to use a sponge. And I'm just using a sponge from a hardware store that's used for when people are tiling, cleaning the grout off of the tile. So we're just going to try to tear this. Okay, and you want it, if you can tear it, you want it to be rough. You don't want it to be a smooth. You don't want it to be flat. You want it to be sort of rough. So just pick at it a little bit, tear it up. Then we're going to take light buttermilk or off-white, antique white, some type of white, and then dab it off, and we're simply sponging on that white. And you want to keep turning your sponge so you don't get a repeat pattern. We'll add a little bit more to it. Okay, and there is our stucco. So then you can go in with your pastel chalks. And if you add too much of the pastel chalks, just go in with your white. Okay, there you go. That will give you a stucco look. And like I said, if you don't like it so rough, you can just simply keep going over it and adding more of the white, just so a little bit of that gray shows through. The gray is what gives it the texture, and also the the texture of the sponge. Okay, I'll show you one last time. So that's another option for you on this kit if you'd like to. Real quick, while I've got this out here, I had considered doing the bottom portion of my model green. So I'll just quick give you a demonstration. Then we'll take our red. This part can be a little tricky. If you want to leave it like this, you can. Or you can add a thin red line. Okay, so that is another option. I hope that if you buy the kit that you have fun with it. It's a quick and easy, it's a 2-day build. Just a fun, easy project to do, and I think it has a lot of character to it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This is such a fun build. And like I'd mentioned, it's probably a 2-day build. So it can be done fairly quickly. And as far as the spray texture using the Krylon, when you're using this, first be sure to use it outside. Don't use it inside. And do not treat it like normal spray paint. Stand back pretty far from the item and then spray it once and maybe over it again. So, and that's it. The more times you go over it, the heavier the texture will be. And trust me, it builds up really quick. So a little goes a long way. And definitely practice first on a piece of cardboard, a piece of wood. So definitely practice first before actually using it on your model. So if you would like to order this kit, please visit carolinacraftsmankits.com. This kit is going to be offered in both HO scale and O scale. Well, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy modeling, everyone.